Absolutely not, Sarah. Victoria Marshall's voice was sharp and cold, cutting through the silence of her office like a knife. She didn't even look up from her desk at first, just kept tapping her long, polished nails against the dark wood as she spoke. I don't care what kind of personal emergency you think you have, the Peterson account presentation is next week, and I need everyone focused and present. I stood there holding the medical leave request form in both hands. They were shaking, but I tried to keep them still. I had practiced this conversation in my head all morning, but now that I was in front of her, it all felt so much harder. Ms. Marshall, please, I began, my voice quiet but steady. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious. The patient. She cut me off before I could finish. The patient? She said, raising an eyebrow. Her lips curled into a smirk. You're an account executive, Sarah, not a nurse. Whatever personal drama you're caught up in, it's not our concern. This is a marketing firm, not a charity. I swallowed hard, trying to stay calm. I know that, but this is different. He has no one else. His condition is getting worse every day. I just need a week to be with him. Victoria suddenly slammed her palm down on the desk, making me flinch. I've heard enough, she snapped. You've been distracted for weeks, leaving early, taking longer lunches than usual, and now you want a whole week off, right before the biggest presentation of the year? The answer is no. My chest felt tight. I had worked so hard for this company. I gave up holidays, weekends, even skipped my own birthday dinner one year because she asked me to. And now, when I needed just a little time, she was acting like I was asking for the world. Ms. Marshall, I said softly, I've never taken a single sick day in 3 years. I've stayed late, worked holidays, done everything you asked, without question. I'm not trying to skip out on my work. I'll keep checking in, work at night if I have to, but I need to be there for him. She stood up from her chair, towering over me in her expensive heels and tailored suit. This account could bring in millions, she said. Do you even understand what that means? Of course not. You're too caught up in your little, humanitarian project to see the big picture. The way she said it made it sound like I was doing something foolish, like caring about someone who was dying was a weakness. I thought about the man in the hospital, how he smiled even when he was in pain, how he looked at me with such peace, even though the end was coming. He didn't have anyone else, just me. I'm taking the week, I said quietly but firmly. I'll do what I can remotely, but I won't leave him alone. Victoria narrowed her eyes. Are you defying me? She asked. I'm doing what's right. She laughed. It wasn't a normal laugh, it was cold and mean. It echoed around the room. Right? She repeated. What's right is doing your job. What's right is being part of the team. What's right is showing up, especially when it counts. This isn't a place for martyrs, Sarah, it's business. I didn't move. My heart was pounding, but I refused to look away. If you need to dock my pay or write me up, I understand, I said, but I'm still taking the week. Victoria slowly walked around her desk and stopped right in front of me. Then, without saying a word, she took the leave request form from my hand, ripped it in half, then again, and again, until the pieces fell like snow to the floor. You're fired, she said coldly. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. You're firing me? For requesting time off to care for someone sick? I'm firing you for insubordination, poor performance, and failing to put the company first, she said with a fake smile. Good luck out there, Sarah. I hope your little sacrifice is worth it. I stood still for a moment, letting her words sink in. 3 years, 60-hour work weeks, missed holidays, skipped vacations, stress migraines, and now, just like that, it was all gone. But instead of falling apart, I felt something unexpected, relief. Thank you, I said, you just made this decision a lot easier. I turned and walked out of her office without looking back. Oh, and Sarah? She called after me with that smug tone in her voice. Don't bother asking for a reference. As far as I'm concerned, you never worked here. I didn't say anything, I just kept walking, past the glass walls and curious stares. I went straight to my desk and started packing. My hands didn't shake this time. I placed the photo of me and the patient, my father, into the box, then my books, and my favorite coffee mug. Jenny from accounting rushed over, her eyes wide with concern. Sarah, what happened? I heard yelling. Victoria fired me, I said simply. What? She can't do that, not for a medical leave. She can, I said gently, And she did, but it's okay. And strangely, it really was. As I walked out of that building, I didn't feel broken. I felt free. For the first time in months, I could breathe. I had lost my job, but I hadn't lost myself. I knew what mattered, and I knew I was doing the right thing. No paycheck could ever be more important than that. I arrived at the front desk of Marshall Associates feeling calm, though my heart beat a little faster than usual. The security guard looked at me with a hint of sympathy, but mostly confusion. "I'm sorry, Miss Collins," he said politely. "You're not on the approved visitor list anymore. Miss Marshall's orders." I smiled gently and pulled out my phone. "Could you call Victoria Marshall's office, please? Tell her I have a letter from Thomas Edwards." The moment I said Thomas's name, I saw the change in his expression. He didn't say anything, but I could tell he recognized it. A few minutes later, after a quick phone call, he handed me a visitor badge. "Miss Marshall will see you immediately," he said, now clearly puzzled. The elevator ride to the 20th floor felt strange. Just a week ago, I was rushing through these halls, carrying coffee and reports, trying to juggle work and my volunteer hours. I was always tired, always on edge, but today, I felt something new, peace. I knew what I was about to do would change everything. Victoria's assistant stood up as soon as the elevator doors opened. She looked nervous. "Miss Marshall is waiting for you," she said quickly, then opened the door to the office. She didn't look me in the eye. Word of my firing must have spread already. Victoria sat behind her big, expensive desk. Her posture was stiff and formal. Her face showed nothing. "Sarah," she said coolly, "I assume this isn't a desperate attempt to get your job back?" I calmly walked over and placed the envelope on her desk. "No, Victoria, this is from Thomas Edwards." She hesitated, her hand hovering over the envelope. "Thomas Edwards, the investor?" I nodded. "The same. He asked me to deliver this personally." Without waiting for her permission, I sat down. I saw a flicker of annoyance cross her face, but she didn't say anything. "How do you know Thomas Edwards?" she asked, picking up the envelope. "He's my patient," I replied, "the one you fired me for helping." I watched as the color drained from her face. She opened the letter with trembling fingers and began to read. Her expression changed quickly, from confusion to shock to fear. "This can't be real," she whispered, barely audible. "Not what you expected?" I asked quietly. She looked at me, completely shaken. "He's pulling his investment, all of it, immediately." She flipped through the papers. "This will destroy us. The Peterson account, our new office, all of it, it's backed by his firm." "I know," I said. "You knew?" she snapped. "And you didn't warn me?" I tilted my head. "When was I supposed to tell you? When you fired me for being kind? Or when you said I'd never work in this industry again?" She jumped up and began pacing behind her desk. "We need to fix this. You have to help me fix this. Talk to him. Tell him it was all a mistake." "A mistake?" I asked, my voice steady. "You punished me for showing kindness to a dying man. That wasn't a mistake, Victoria. That was a decision. You made it with a straight face." She stopped pacing and faced me. Her voice cracked slightly. "Please. I'll give you your job back, a promotion, more money, just help me save this company." I thought about Thomas lying in the hospital, still trying to help others even as his life slipped away. I thought about all the employees, like Jenny from accounting, who cried in the bathroom after one of Victoria's cruel remarks, or Mark from creative, who missed his daughter's recital because of her demands. "I don't want my job back," I said, "but I will give you the message Thomas asked me to deliver in case you made this offer." She leaned forward. "What message?" I pulled out a second envelope. "These are his terms. If you agree to them, he'll keep his investment, you'll keep the company. If you don't, everything falls apart." She opened the envelope and started reading. Her eyes widened. "New management structure, work-life balance, medical leave, employee feedback surveys, consequences for bad leadership." Her voice trailed off, and then she stared at me. "You'll be Director of Employee Relations?" I nodded. "That's right, I'll be overseeing the changes." "You're joking." "Thomas Edwards doesn't joke about business," I said. "You have until the end of the day to decide." Victoria sank into her chair. She looked defeated. "He's really dying, isn't he?" "Yes," I said softly, "and this is how he wants to use what time he has left, to make a difference." She stared at the documents, then slowly reached for her pen and signed. I assume you'll want your own office? Corner office, I said with a smile, with a view. I start next week. As I walked out of her office, the whole floor was silent. People stared, whispers would start soon, but I didn't care. I had one more stop to make. At the hospital, Thomas was sleeping when I arrived. I sat beside him, holding his hand. It's done, I whispered. She signed everything. He opened his eyes and smiled faintly. Told you she would. Victoria's many things, but she's not stupid. Thank you, I said, squeezing his hand, for trusting me. He shook his head. No, Sarah, thank you. You reminded me that even at the end, we can still do good. In the days that followed, I split my time between the hospital and the office. We started putting the new policies in place. To my surprise, Victoria took it seriously. Maybe it was about saving face, or maybe something inside her was changing. Thomas held on just long enough to hear the results of our first employee survey. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. He smiled as I read the responses aloud. See, he whispered, the best investments are in people. He died peacefully 3 days later, while I read to him from The Great Gatsby, his last bit of mischief. At his memorial, I was amazed by the crowd, not just business people, but students, small business owners, and volunteers, lives he had touched quietly. Behind the scenes, Victoria was there too, standing silently at the back. A month later, I sat in my new office, reviewing applications for our new employee support program. Jenny from accounting popped in, smiling. You'll never guess, Victoria just approved all the flexible work requests, every single one, and she smiled while doing it. I laughed and glanced at Thomas's photo on my desk. 1 year, I whispered, thinking of him. That afternoon, I received a package from Thomas's lawyers. Inside was a letter he had written before he passed. Dear Sarah, if you're reading this, a year has passed. I hope you've seen the results of our little plan, but more than that, I hope you've discovered something in yourself. You have what it takes to be a leader, not because of power or position, but because of your empathy. That's why I'm giving you something more, voting shares in my investment firm. Find more companies like Marshall & Associates. Help change them too. You saw something in me when others only saw a sick man. I saw something in you too. Make me proud. Thomas. I sat in silence for a long time. Outside, the city lights flickered on. Victoria knocked and came in with 2 coffees. Peterson renewed, she said, smiling. They said our new values impressed them. I smiled. Funny, isn't it? That's the same account you fired me over. She nodded, looking thoughtful. You could have destroyed this place, Sarah, but instead, you saved it, saved me. Thank Thomas, I said. He believed in second chances. And third, she said, smiling, I would know. As she left, I looked at Thomas's letter again. He had believed in me, and now it was my turn to believe in others. The next morning, the same security guard greeted me with a warm smile. Good morning, Miss Collins, changing any lives today? I smiled back. Every day, that's the best kind of investment. And somewhere, I knew Thomas was smiling too.